Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to a not super late edition of the Missing Wolves post-game podcast live stream thing. I'm your host, Andrew Dukowitz from Zone Coverage. I don't have any complaints tonight, believe it or not. Well, at this point in the podcast, I don't have any complaints tonight. It's just a great Wolves win, honestly. But my guest today, Kingabee, Wolves Twitter and TikTok celebrity. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. I was so excited to be back at Target Center for a win this time. So my night is complete.
It's nice to get a win out there because last game was tough. I'm assuming you were at the last game as well.
The last two games were brutal.
Yeah. It is so hard to be in this stadium when they're getting blown out because you just feel the murmur of everybody getting super upset. But tonight, awesome energy. Got the chance to ask Ayo about it after the game, and he was like, I didn't know it got this loud here, which he only plays here once a year in Chicago, but energy was great, wouldn't you say?
The energy was awesome, and obviously you have been to way more games than I have, but this season going to almost every game, like yesterday when they stepped on the court, I already knew that bad news bears, this is not going to turn out very well because the energy was off. And then today, they started way more with energy than they did yesterday. So it was great being in that atmosphere. I'm like, okay, we have some momentum, and things got dicey there a little bit in the third, and I was like, oh. but it was so great to be back and for them to really put their all out there.
Yeah, I kept writing down throughout the game, in my notes of just professional. This was just a professional go in. The Hawks don't have Jalen Johnson. They're missing their best player. Go in and win by 20 and just look good, which we just saw them lose to New Orleans, and then we just saw them lose to the Clippers. We haven't been able to just see them look normal for a while, but I thought this was a really professional win. This is how it should be, right?
This is definitely how it should be. And I made a video a couple of days ago saying that this seems like the hardest stretch for the Wolves, these 4 games, because these are teams that they so love losing to. And obviously the Pelicans and the Clippers, there are 2 big players that the Wolves just don't really have answers for. But this one and Portland should be easy, but it's not. I had a friend with me who's a new Timberwolves fan, and I told her, I'm like, we're up 20, but this game is not over. We could lose by 10 so easily. And then there was a point in the third there where I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing again?
Literally, I think they were up 22 in the fourth quarter, and I was just hypothetically, I should be able to leave my seat and get set up in the media room, but I can't. I can never do that because this team they just kind of trip over themselves sometimes. But it's really kind of interesting that you mentioned the energy is off, because this team is a very vibes type of team. Chris Finch calls them moody often, which they are. When they're in a good mood and they have that right energy, they're the best team in the league outside of Oklahoma City. But if they're grumpy or crabby or tired or anything else, they can kind of lose to anyone. Is interesting. Finch after the game gave a lot of credit to Pablo Prigioni, their kind of third in the pecking order assistant, of putting together a really good positive film session where they're showing all of the highlights of what actions and what things go really well. Ayo shouted Pablo out too, saying he's been awesome. He's been doing film with me. He's done drills with me. Rudy, I got to ask Rudy about it. Rudy kind of gave his philosophical answer about how Pablo's great. Also found out that Rudy and Pablo played against each other one time when Pablo was with the Clippers. So I will be looking up those stats as soon as he's Pablo, when he got here, told me that he got me when he was with the Clippers, and he did. So now I have to go find those clips. But it's just so weird that when this team really does seem to find a really good groove, it's usually a Pablo or like someone you just never expect? I mean, like as a more on like the fan side, like is that something that kind of like bleeds into you guys too, of like just noticing that energy is so different? I know you mentioned it like last night, but it is just such a weird dynamic they have.
It is, and it's very interesting because if you go to games, you like kind of see that the players are moving differently. And I think tonight specifically, like Jaden moved differently than he was moving yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And just like like how they run, how like their body posture on the court was different. Like Jaden looked super locked in, and definitely I feel like he took it personally that his dunk got blocked yesterday, so he had three to show.
Yep.
um, to show that he can do it, and it felt different and it looked different. Like the minute they got onto the court yesterday, I was just like on my phone because I'm like, the vibes are off
Yeah.
immediately. That things are not going to go well. So it does. As fans, we can feel that energy when they don't play connected, when they are not engaged, when you see Anne just like kind of like sauntering back and forth. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's definitely something that comes across for fans as well.
I mean, you mentioned the connectivity, like 7 guys in double figures. Every starter gets in double figures. Nas probably would have been in double figures, but he and I think it's Muhammad Gaye decided to have a spat. Um,
He also took
Interesting.
yesterday's loss personally, and he's like, Randall got into a fight yesterday. I'm going to get one today.
And, like Finch gets ejected in that Oklahoma City game and start something. Maybe Reed getting in a fight. Not the best fight of the night, by the way, if there's any Pistons
Not
fans in here.
And like,
Oof.
do we have like this psychic connection to the Pistons? Because last year, Isaiah Stewart got into it with Dante and Nas, and they just psyched for some reason. Nas and Isaiah Stewart, they're
Just
psychic
connected.
communicating to each other.
Maybe
Like,
it
hey,
is. I would have like,
I'm glad that Nas is not on Isaiah Stewart level, because
yeah.
that would be just a little too much, I think.
It's also like like people probably have already heard about it, but like Isaiah Stewart and Jaden were on the same Washington Huskies team. Like I can't
I
imagine
feel like that.
how wild card that might have been. Also, Benny Hughes in the chat jumping in here, shouting out Ayo, shouting out the All-Star break relaxation, and Isaiah Stewart running full speed from the bench might be one of the most terrifying things I can imagine. Shout out Benny.
I
Godfrey's also in here, says Randall and Ant passed to Rudy. Amazing. Like, yeah, they did the thing that
They
usually
did the
works.
thing.
But
Yeah.
go for it. Riff on Jaden and Stewart as college teammates, because holy cow.
I wouldn't have wanted to be a coach or an assistant or anybody trying to like defuse those guys. And I don't know, I haven't seen too much of Isaiah Stewart like talking, but like Jaden is like so kind of, you know, very subdued and doesn't really talk a lot, like to you guys and to the media. But then, he has his moments on the court, and I just like it was probably a terror having those two on the team.
I don't know why, and I have no proof for this, but I have a feeling Jaden was involved in this one somehow. And that is just from like when I noticed they were fighting, Jaden was just kind of like sauntering off in the background. And I was like, what did you do? You're never sauntering away. Like, what happened?
I picked up on that as well, and I recorded part of it, and I kept going back and zooming in and trying to look where Jaden is, because I'm like, how is he not involved in this? And he just
Right.
kind of
Like I was
oh,
like, did you start it and you're just walking away now? Like what happened? Maybe in the future I'll get an answer on that. But like It's just weird not seeing Jaden in the middle of it. So I was like,
Right, because he's always there. He's always
he's always in the middle of it.
yeah. And Dante didn't get involved either,
Yeah.
whereas he did last year.
Which shout out Dante. He gets ejected in that fight last year. And then he came to a Lynx game with his significant other and sat in those seats for the Lynx game. And I was like, you know what you're doing. Like you know.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even, because I was at that Lynx game, and when him and his partner were there, and I didn't even like clock like, hey, you fell into those seats.
As soon as I saw him sitting there, I was like, you're not even on the aisle. Like, this isn't normal. What are you doing there?
And I'm like, I don't know like where generally Wolves players sit when they come to Lynx games, but I'm like, is it there?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, I know I don't think they did as much last year because Allison, Jaden's girlfriend, I don't think they're engaged or married, but like Jaden's girlfriend was like super pregnant, I think. But they used to go to like every game. They would like Allison would be at every game, just kind of like sitting in normal people seats. And then when Jaden would go, they would sit like together in normal people seats. And then you'd see like weird pictures of like Jaden McDaniels just sitting in like the 30th row. Most of them get like the press box. Exactly. Except for like 7 feet tall. Like it is interesting though. Like Rocco Zerkarski went to quite a few last year, and like, you know, obviously there's like the Alana Smith Australian connection, but he was at, I want to say probably like a third of the Lynx games, and they never put him on the Titantron because he was just buying like normal tickets and then just like going by himself, which is like,
that's
man,
awesome.
kids nowadays.
We're just collecting Australians. So bring more, I say.
They're a great hang. Like they're good people. I have never met one that I didn't enjoy. Kind of to transition off of a Lynx Australian diatribe there, but like Ayo Dosunmu, like what a entrance he made. I think, you know, the last game against the Clippers, we can probably just write off of like, oh, that was weird. I mean, this is going to be the game I'm going to remember about his debut. How about you?
Definitely. Like, I think whenever you do something for the first time, whether you're a professional or not, there's going to be those jitters. You're not familiar with the team. You're not familiar with anything. And it was super shaky. And there were people in my comments on TikTok being like, is this what we, you know, made the trade for? Like, we should have traded Jaden, which like those people need to get out of my comments. But because we don't do that in these sports. But like whenever you do something for the first time, it's going to be shaky, and we have to realize that even though it's a game and a game that they have played probably since they were, you know, being able to walk, that doesn't mean it's going to be seamless. And today he definitely seemed more comfortable and definitely coming into his own. So that was really great to see. And same, I think we're going to race yesterday and think of this as his breakout game, because I mean, joining a new team has to be difficult and takes a little bit of adjustment. And if it was one game of adjustment, I'm here for it.
Teresa agrees. Everybody that's trying to get Jaden traded out of here can probably get out of the comments. Pack Mentality says collecting Australians and French people. Benny adds Patty Mills and Tony Parker coming soon. That's hilarious. Pack Mentality also says all for forgetting yesterday. And then Steve Hartman adds, I mean, winning formula, 36 assists. Like, yeah, I want to say what they finished yesterday with, like 16 assists or 15 or 16 turnovers and like 9 assists or something like that at one point. Like they had almost a 2-to-1 turnover to assist ratio.
It was a wild game. It was a wild game. And then comparatively to the Pelicans game, where Julius decides like, hey, I'm just going to take Zion on one-on-one every single time. He's like, I'm going to pass. And then there were passes yesterday that I just thought, I'm like, You know what I was thinking of? Did you see that video of Jaden Ivey, that weird
Yeah.
jumping, humping pass that he threw? Like, that's what the Wolves were doing yesterday.
Yeah, it's just that's to me like covering this team kind of like up close. That's the thing that is so confusing is like they can have a night like tonight where they have what 36 assists on 55 baskets. They only have 15 turnovers. Everything is clicking. The ball movement is great. Everybody's scoring. The new guy looks amazing. Like everything is going right against like again, the Hawks don't have Jalen Johnson, but like they're not a throwaway team. Like they're a playoff team even without Jalen Johnson in the East. And like literally 28 hours ago, they had maybe their worst game of the season where nobody was passing the ball. No one was doing like anything that I think the coaches were calling what they were trying to do on the floor. Like it was honestly the worst loss of the season, in my opinion, against the Clippers.
Right.
And
And also,
those two
yesterday
things
was
happened
one.
28 hours in between each other. Like it doesn't make sense to me a lot of times.
And thinking about Ayo, I told this to my husband yesterday when we were going to the game. I'm like, this is a 2 o'clock game. So he's like, first game is a 2 o'clock game, which like we don't do very well with because it's
No.
nap time for these guys.
Yes, it absolutely is. And maybe that's just like is as easy as it is like it's a weird 2 o'clock game. They're usually midway through their nap, and I'm sure half of the people on the team had Super Bowl party plans afterwards, which not good excuses, I would argue, when you're trying to fight for playoff seeding. But I mean, they're young guys. That's kind of how it goes sometimes.
Right. And yeah, you never know with this team because they just those games that they should be winning, they are not.
Godfrey adds no Dyson Daniels today as well. That is Dyson Daniels is like one of their big rotation guys. Pack mentality just scratched the noon to 2 p.m. games. As a man that likes to fall asleep by 9 p.m. whenever possible, I want every game to be a 2 p.m. game, but this team would probably be like 2-80 if that was the case. King, I'm going to send us.
We're not on athlete schedule.
Exactly. We're on like people with day jobs that need sleep schedule.
Exactly.
David adds, I think Ayo should start over Dante. I really like how Ayo pushes the pace. Let's get into that one. But first I'm going to throw us over to an ad read, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts on like where Ayo is. Excuse me, Ayo. I don't know why I'm saying Ayo all of a sudden in the pecking order. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read. This time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. .com. I think the .com cut off, not .net, not .org. King, again, we're forgetting the first IO games. That didn't exist. It never happened. So I'm just going to ask, like, after one Ayo Dosunmu game, like, what are your thoughts? Should he be maybe in the starting rotation instead of Dante, or where are you sitting on that?
I think us as a fandom, we love to like swing in extremes. Like if the team is doing bad, fire everybody, trade everybody besides. And if one of our guys has his second game, or because we erased yesterday's game, so his first game was an amazing game that we're swinging in the different, like, okay, bench everybody and then start this guy. I think we need to wait it out. And I have been on this really since the beginning of the season, that we need a stronger bench than we've had. So let's see what he can do with, um, Bones and Nas and them, like what that group can do and how other configurations work out, rather than just like blowing up everything and switching Dante's minutes and putting him back on the bench. And you never know how he's going to feel about that. And that was weird last year. And there were conversations like, hey, maybe he's not playing as well because he thought that he might be able to start somewhere and now he's on the bench. So I think before we go in either, like, swing in either direction, as fandoms do, just try to wait it out and see if we can have a really strong bench with Ayo there, and then go from there before, after his first game, to be like, okay, he needs to start over everybody.
Teresa adds might be a decent idea because Dante is foul prone. A couple other people kind of mentioned the Dante is a streaky shooter. Dante is not the most competent at times with the ball and ball handling. I kind of agree with you. Like, this team needs depth, and I think the Ayo and Bones minutes, just because both of them play like lightning quick, is going to be fun. Like, I'm first and foremost like usually rooting for fun. So like, if we get Ayo and Bones off the bench with like Jaden, Ant, and Nas, like we saw so far, like that's going to be super fun. Like, that's a team that can fly. And I mean, Steve also, I keep the consistency, right? No sense to mix up the starting five. I do think this gives Finch kind of more of a lever of, if Dante's having an off night, you do have Ayo, just like last year when Mike or Dante were having it last night, you had Nikhil. Now you kind of have two guys on the bench that you can feel confident of, like, all right, if somebody's just not having it tonight, we know Ayo's going to bring it, even if it's not the most productive. So I agree with you. Like, I think Ayo, like in kind of the ideal world, is you're like, he's playing 25 minutes off a bench every night. Is that kind of summing up where you're sitting as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And then how you talk about, like, and people in the comments were talking about him pushing the pace. I wonder of how, and someone mentioned that Dante is foul prone. And I wonder how much of that is just he overplays and he plays way harder than everybody on the court and trying to, pump up that energy that he gets into foul trouble. But if we have Ayo, yet another guy who has like really a lot of energy, does Dante have to play way too hard where he gets into foul trouble just to like get himself going and maybe try to get the team going? So maybe that alleviates some of that kind of strain that Dante might feel of like just getting into foul trouble and getting into everybody's space all the time to get something going.
Agreed. David mentions, Finch had Ayo close over Dante. Godfrey, Ayo is better defense, better passing, better driving to the hoop. Should start and play more minutes. Benny and Pack Mentality both add that they love Dante as well. I think it's kind of the point that I made a lot last year of like Mike starting after the All-Star break, of just like my point was always like, it's a lot less about who starts and who closes. Like, Mike starting the game isn't like the end all be all if the person that's hot is closing. So I think, like, to David, your point, I think there's going to be a lot of games where Ayo's just has more juice than Dante and Ayo's closing the game. I do think this also gives like Finch another lever with Julius as well, because Jaden has been able to play the four. So like, if you just start Ayo, I don't think it's going to really change like the end like the end result. I think it's still going to be Finch is just going to go with whoever's having the better game, which they didn't have that before this. Like, I don't think anyone was calling for like Jalen Clark to finish games over people. I might be wrong, but like, I think they just have a much more well-rounded team, don't you?
Yeah, it feels way better. I feel like we have more competent guys out there that can play, NBA level basketball, and bringing in Ayo, who really plays hard and is really locked in. I think that might unlock something that this team has been missing this year. Because like we lost people like Nikhil and before that Kyle, so we lost our edge, and I think that has been the biggest issue, that we don't have guys who have like that competitive edge. And I'm not saying that like Ant doesn't want to win or that the other guys don't want to win, but there was something specifically about Kyle and Nikhil that had their I can't remember who characterized Kyle as having like a chip on his shoulder all the time,
Mm-hmm.
about like winning and like getting to the highest of highs. And I think that with those two guys leaving, that kind of just dissipated from the team. So it's good to have yet another guy kind of with some juice there.
I think and Rudy kind of talked about it, and I don't want fans to take this as like I'm crapping on Ant or Julius, but like after the game, Rudy was talking about like Nikhil and how Nikhil, coming back and how proud he is of him. And Rudy kind of mentioned like Nikhil, when he was here and in Utah, was always the first guy in the gym, always the last guy to leave, always like reading a book, always like locked in, never took days off. And like, it's not like Ant doesn't work his tail off, but like Ant and Julius and a lot of these guys are just so structured that they have their one workout and then they go and do something else. They also have like courts at their houses and stuff like that. And I do think it says something when somebody is like physically in the gym, right? Like this guy is physically here every time I get into the gym. Like he is there already and he leaves after I do. Like it might just be like some subconscious thing of like you kind of lose that edge. But like everything I've heard about Ayo from Chicago fans and Chicago writers is that dude is a basketball maniac. Like he is that type of guy that is just always there, which now I like on that point, like you look at this roster and it's like you now kind of have eclipsed the like ratio of guys that bring it versus guys that don't bring it. Like Rudy 99% of the time locked in, Jaden 99% of the time locked in, Ayo, Dante locked in all the time. Like if Ant, Julius, or Bones kind of take a night off, there's now more people yelling at them than not yelling at them, which
Right.
might be oversimplifying it, but I think it's something.
And sometimes the other guys have to carry it, right? And I think like in one of the videos that you posted, Ant was saying that he might not play in the All-Star game because he's banged up, and he kind of looked shaky a little bit in the second half today as well. And sometimes like that's why you have a bench, that on the nights that your superstars are a little bit off, that they can prop you up and carry you for a little bit. Everybody needs a, what's his name?
And it is something like,
Frodo.
oh, exactly. Like you do need like the energy guys. And like it was something when they had that losing streak when they lost to like Brooklyn before they went off and got thumped by Atlanta. Like I remember asking Rudy about it and just being like, I mean, you've been on teams that have made it to the final, like Western Conference Finals with Utah. You've been on really good teams. Like, why is it different here? And Rudy was pretty honest of like, we just have too much talent. Like we have too many really, really talented guys and not enough of the guys that are just like getting by sheer grit and like have to. And like the guys that do that don't play anymore. Like Joe just can't play 20 minutes. Like Mike can't
Right.
play 20 minutes when he eventually comes back. It's just a really weird balancing act. I do want to shout out Ray, people overreacting to one game. Let's start him, bench him. Yeah.
That's exactly what we have been saying. Like, again, there was someone
I,
in my comments who wanted to be like, the was it worth it keeping Jaden after the deadline because he had 2 points yesterday?
Personally, yes. Steve brings up a question. Steve brings up a good question that I'd love to get your thoughts on. I'm sure you've seen the Rudy Gobert stuff from after that Pelicans game. Finch's kind of weird response to it, I guess. Before I kind of get into the behind the scenes parts of it, what was kind of your thoughts on that when you were initially seeing that stuff kind of come out to the public?
I think that Finch's response was very like polished and like the political response of how you answer it. And I think Rudy, he also boils over like Nas and Jaden do, just in a different way. Sometimes you punch a teammate in the shoulder, and otherwise you call out call out the coach and your superstars. So I think it's kind of was just like his little rebellious thing that he does, because I do believe Finch that they talk about it in the locker room while they're meetings that they have. But I think that Rudy felt that it's not enough because things aren't changing to say it publicly. And like, I'm not for airing out your laundry in public, but sometimes things just need to be said. So,
Yeah, it was so like being in the locker room for that one, and I think I caught some of Jason Dane's kind of commentary on it of like, kind of their thoughts on it. And I'm not gonna like break any news or anything. Like I kind of agree with them. Like I don't know. To me, I think it was like Rudy brings it 99% of the games. He is the one that gets benched in the fourth quarter if they need more offense. A lot of times, like he's the scapegoat. If a team scores too much, they kind of like look at the points in the paint and blame Rudy on it, when it's like, yeah, but you guys aren't really like ball pressuring. People are just getting like layup lines at
yeah,
Rudy, and like he can't stop everything. And I think it was just one of those games where it's like, I mean, Rudy's aware that Zion scored 30 and went 11 of 13. Like, that sucks. And
yeah,
when you kind of know that you were one of the guys that really put out the effort, and you're also probably going to be the guy that people are blaming for that loss, or at least like fans are going to be blaming for the loss at some point. Like, I think it was just like more of an exacerbation of like, we got to do something. Like, I don't know if it's like me punching someone. I don't know if it's Finch benching people. I don't know if it's like we all start going and having like team meetings before every game, but like we need to do something, because like what we are doing is not working. So I didn't really take it as like him saying like, Finch, you suck, you need to do something better, like a lot of fans I think kind of interpreted it. Like, just knowing Rudy and kind of his vibe, like I think he's just like at a loss of like, what the
right.
heck do you like? We know what the problem is. Like, nothing is working to fix it. It's literally just effort. Like, something has to change, which
And that
I don't know. I don't
Pelicans
know about you. Like, I feel for Rudy. Like that. It kind of sucks when you're the guy that's trying really hard on the school projects.
And he has like very real like offensive limitations that he can't fill in the holes for
Yep.
everybody. And on the other hand, like that Pelicans game was so weird because Ayo and the other guy, can't remember his
Julian
name,
Phillips.
Julian Phillips, they were inactive. Who was Finch going to put in? Like, you pull
Yeah.
out and there was no one. Like, there are like two guys left,
It would
right?
have been
No
Enrique
more, no more
Freeman.
Lenny. No, yes, it's like Enrique Freeman and Johnny Juzang. They're just like hooping on the court because there was no one. And like Finch brought in Johnny, and he had some minutes, but like literally there was nobody to put in. And I think that like Rudy didn't necessarily mean it just for that Pelicans game. It was
Mm-hmm.
like we've had this like super up and down since end of October, November. It's like it has been very up and down, and I think that he just was like, okay. But it's weird that it came out during this Pelicans game. We're like, who who was Finch supposed to put in? Like, there was no one. There's no Mike. There's no, not even, uh, there's no Mike.
There's no
There's no
Rob. There's
Shane. There's
nothing.
no Rob. There's like no one. Like, he didn't, did he play Clark in
I
that
think
game? I
Johnny
don't know.
and Clark both went out there. Like
Yeah. But like,
I will say, like, I
none
don't
none of
think.
those guys really bring the offense, you know? Who was going to
Well,
score?
and like, I think you can look at those comments and like it's pretty easy to figure out like who he's talking about. Like, it was Julius and Ann, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just those are kind of the two guys that seem to, and both of them, I think, like, like Ant will sit there and like talk about it of like, yeah, when I bring effort, we're awesome. Like, Julius has that gear in him. Like, Ant's even said it like post game before of like, when Julius like brings it, he's one of the top 10 players in the league. Like,
Yeah.
they have this ceiling to them. And I think for Rudy, it's just a frustration of like, we could literally win every game if we
Right.
just brought consistent effort. And
And
I think for people,
that was
hmm?
such a frustrating Julius game, because he was just doing the backing down Zion every single possession, and it was not working, and he would just not try anything new. And I think both him and Ant have that very stubborn streak. Like, Ant was chucking up threes yesterday, and Julius was just backing down Zion on, can't remember what day that was, Friday. And
They
it
have
was,
all bled together for me too. Don't worry.
yeah, and nobody's trying anything else.
And that's where I think he was coming from. It's just like, we gotta try something. Which, like, to the coaching staff's credit, it sounded like instead of having a really negative film session, they had Pablo go out there and find a bunch of clips of like, here's what we do really good. This is what we have to get back to. They put a bunch of positivity into it, which, like, I don't know if that was just like a desperation, like we got to try something different or what, but like, at least for one night against the Hawks, it worked. We'll find out if it carries over, but so far it has, a good adjustment. What's kind of your thought on Finch overall? Because I had the last time I had you on here, I don't think he was quite as talked about online. Like, where are you sitting with Coach Finch?
I think that, like, what makes a good coach, right? Because everybody is like, well, fire Finch, and I've seen like, it's like the Micah era, or talking about bringing in Mike Malone or other people. Like, nobody really knows what makes a good coach, and it's a little bit like teaching. I'm a teacher in my real life, and sometimes, like, you can provide everything for your students or like your players, and then they need to meet you halfway. And it's kind of an art. And there is definitely something to Finch's coaching where some things are happening consistently year after year, like the turnovers, the bad passes, this lack of energy and engagement from the players, like um, those carry over from year to year. But then somehow he like knits it together and like brings it by to the end of the year. So I don't know. I don't know, because I can't, I like, I'm not in the, I don't, I don't know like what Spolstra is doing in his off time, and what makes his guys respond to him more, or Joe Mazzulla, or any of these guys who are just like, can come up with these really unique and interesting plays and offenses. So I don't know. I think it's a hard job, and those people who are saying that we need to fire Finch now, like, see the team like fall apart if they fire Finch, because the guys seem to love him, specifically Ant. And if you fire Finch now, I think, and Ant is still, if Ant is still a Finch guy, and you fire Finch now, you lose Ant, and then we're definitely not going anywhere this year.
Julian Phillips' cousin drops by. How's it going? Heard you have dropped by almost every Wolves podcast live stream over the last week. So appreciate you. Julian seems like a delightful person. Finch normally does play bench players when he's up 20. I think this game was more just related to the weird vibes of the team than anything else. I think it was just like, let's just get out of here with a 20-point win. I'll also say, like, this team, a 20-point lead is just not safe with them. Like, the more you kind of tune in, because I'm assuming you're watching Julian, the more that's going to kind of become apparent. But Julian seems like a great kid so far. Said hi to him in the locker room today. Seems like a good dude. I'm excited to see what he can do while he's here.
Yeah, and he needs to get used to Minnesota coaches doing that, because Cheryl Reeve also has the tendency to do that. Minnesota.
If you have any cousins in the WNBA, Cheryl Reeve, also notable for not playing their whole bench. There's something in the water. But no, I just, to second kind of what you're saying, like, the vibe I get from the locker room, the vibe I get from Ant, is this team is still very much bought into Chris Finch. And as long as Ant wants Finch around, that should be the only thing that really matters, because, like, Ant is the future, the present, everything. And Steve Hartman adds down here of just biggest thing for NBA coaches is managing egos and getting buy-in. Like, that's Finch's superpower, is getting these guys to buy in before the playoffs, which so far, 2 Western Conference Finals, he's had 4 playoff appearances in his time here. Like, so far, that is still the, like, until they don't do it, I'm still expecting this team to just rattle off 11 out of 12 and be right back where they're supposed to be. But
it can't
until that happens, it's very frustrating. And for fans, like, before I got into the media side, I had season tickets for 7 years here. Like, it is so frustrating when you're taking time out of your evening, when you're spending money to go watch a team and you just don't know what they're going to do. It's so frustrating.
Well, but it's like,
pack mentality.
Go ahead.
Oh, pack mentality just adds 20 points can zap in less than a minute. Yes. Kingabee, I do want to wrap the pod here before I get locked out of the Skyway and I have to hitchhike my way home. But anything you want to plug, where can people find you, all of that stuff? As always, the floor is yours.
Yes, everybody can find me mostly on TikTok. That's where I post my silly Timberwolves videos. It's at Kingabee, so come on and join me there. And I generally share videos from the games I'm at, and then bring my own hot takes. And anybody who says to trade Jaden has another thing coming, because my page is a Jaden fan page, and don't come talking nonsense to me.
Jaden's a good fan page to root for. Pack Mentality says, love your TikToks. Godfrey just adds Wolves lock in, and Godfrey adds Wolves lock in, play like Finch wants, and they score 81 in the first half. Yep, that's
true.
Kind of what I point to with the Finch stuff.
And he can't do that. And I don't know if you saw this, and this is the thing that Ann does lately when someone is shooting an open 3 and he just like stands there, and instead of like trying to contest, he just like follows the ball with his eyes. Like, what is Finch supposed to do about that? He's just like following the ball, and he has been doing it for like 4 games straight. And it's just like makes me, but like, what can Finch do about that? That Ann just follows the ball falling in with his eyes. Nothing.
And it's like, people are like, well, bench him. Like, all right, you bench him and then you lose by 40, and Ant's going to come back with like, see, you bench me and you lost by 40. And then it's like, well, yell at him. I promise you Finch yells at him. From the amount of times I've seen that man with no voice, I promise you he's getting after them. Kingabee, thanks for joining. For everybody in the podcast live stream, this will get posted on YouTube and X as soon as we hit end stream here. And then it does get posted anywhere you listen to podcasts tomorrow morning, February 10th at 7 a.m. We'll be back after the Portland game, as always. And Kingabee, again, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Of course.